Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor. I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Today, I wanted to talk about kind of some stuff that we've sort of talked about before, but more to a point, I think. And that is that we've talked about things that you can do in a relationship that can maybe keep the relationship sustained long term. We've talked about both good and bad things that people can be in regards to the spectrum of a person and stuff like that. We've talked about the interactive kind of element between partners with things like the DVEI model and stuff like that. But the thing that stands out as there are a few things that stand out purely as things to consider about yourself, yeah, to make you a better romantic partner. And these are core kind of elements that need to be focused on to an extent because they're very important in the way that you conduct yourself in a relationship and stuff like that. So here are four things to keep in mind when about yourself in a relationship. Yeah. Now the first one is kind of honesty or trustworthiness, I guess. But honesty more so in my mind than anything else. And this is like you need to be honest both in regards to you talking to your partner, but also in regards to you about you and you with yourself. Yeah, because one of the things is the dishonesty in a relationship. It leads to people not being authentic, people having disagreements, people getting caught out on their lies or on their omission of information. Whatever, it leads to arguments, it leads to the breakdown of things. And in regards to honesty, obviously there are maybe a few exceptions for things like surprises that you want to give, or things that you've been asked to keep secret by other people, maybe. But for the most part, being honest should be a really easy, simple, straightforward thing. And it all comes down to appreciating your partner as another person, not just an accessory to yourself. Yeah, because if you're treating that person as an accessory to yourself, then it's kind of using them. Yeah, you can tell them what you want when you want to, and you don't need to be 100% accurate, 100% truthful, 100% honest, and so on all the time. Whilst if you're respecting them as another person, we'll get onto respect in a minute. But if you're like appreciating them as another individual that has decided to take their time to be with you, then being honest, being straightforward, telling the truth, it's it's one of these things that can help build, yeah, because you're actually treating that person with the appreciation, and you're acknowledging their contribution, and you're providing your own. Um, but and to the I will often find myself being honest to the edge of brutality, potentially beyond that, purely because it's like, well, I'm not going to sugarcoat things because I respect you and I care about you more than anyone else. So if there's anyone that I'm going to give all of the information to, it's going to be you. That's a fairly, in my mind at least, and in regards to kind of some of the the articles and things that usually back this kind of approach up. Where honesty and good communication are always the best things in a relationship to help it last long term or to maintain or whatever else. It's this is the reason why, because it's like you're appreciating that other person. But as said, let's move on to the next one, which is respect. And I mentioned respect a second ago, but again, very much that same kind of vibe of things. Yeah, if you're respecting your partner as an individual, then that is also respecting boundaries, both yours and theirs. Yeah, I've talked in other videos about you can't always overstep the boundaries that are set into someone else's problems, into someone else's life, into someone else's decisions, regardless of if you're in a relationship with them or not. You can't push yourself across that boundary without their permission, yeah, or without actually having that conversation with them. Otherwise, you're just an invader. And what are invaders doing? Well, they're actively disrespecting the boundaries placed by other people, you know. And so, taking that kind of moment and taking that kind of concept and going, oh, I need to respect that person. I might not like what they're doing, but this is where the honesty comes in again. You might not like what they're doing. You might not be on board with it, but in which case then you don't have to just purely support them. Yeah, you can be supportive, you can try and help them out, you can offer yourself at their disposal, but you also should, be completely honest and transparent with that person about your misgivings, about the fact that you're not on board with this. You don't like this idea, you don't want to work with them necessarily on this idea, but if it's their choice, if it's what they're going to do, then fair enough, you've got their back. Yeah? There are a few different elements to this, both on the positive and the negative side, because you can be respectful and honest and caring for that person without always singing their praises, without always backing them up. Being honest and respecting that person is as much about telling them and making them aware of their shortcomings and how maybe they're missing things, as much as it is about purely singing their praises and being their biggest cheerleader. Yeah, so like if Hannah, for instance, is coming out with some things that are somewhat unrealistic, or maybe if I'm coming out with something that she's not sure if I've got a plan on for the way that I'm going to do a thing, then we'll ask each other questions and we'll point stuff out to each other. And yeah, sometimes it's maybe not so much appreciated, but at the same time, it's still like, well, I'm just saying it, I'm just putting it out there, I'm making sure you're aware. Yeah, in which case it's a thank you very much, you care enough about whether or not I succeed or fail to actually tell me. Yeah, unlike the people who don't really care that much but are your friends or your family or whatever else that really don't give a shit, but are likely to come in and just go, oh yeah, you're doing so well, or oh no, you're doing absolutely terribly, regardless of evidence, just because it's based on their own thoughts. They're not really respecting you, they're not really appreciating what you're doing or the effort you're putting in or anything else. They're just vomiting at you. A partner shouldn't do that. But anyway, the next one is kind of similarities in personality. Yeah, the whole opposites attract thing has some merit to it to a degree, but for the most part, in relationships and things, you're more likely to be with someone that shares an awful lot of traits and values with you than not. Things like how friendly and agreeable you are, or how outgoing you're going to be, and stuff like that. Those are traits that tend to have people gravitate towards one another. If you've got two people who are not particularly outgoing, then that means that they're probably going to like chill out together and enjoy not going out together, as opposed to going out on and doing all these other things together. If you've got one person that is very extroverted and wants to be out there with loads of people all the time, and you've got one person who's not so extroverted and doesn't really care to do stuff with other people, would much prefer just a quiet night in with their other half, then there's maybe going to be a bit of a mismatch between who wants to do what, and as a result it might break things down and it might kind of cause those arguments and those upsets. Again, also with like friendliness or agreeableness, then that might mean that one person is making friends with everyone's friend, but then the other person in the relationship is friends with their own friends but just can't get on with anyone else. And that causes kind of friction, it causes a bit of a breakdown. Obviously you've also got things like conscientiousness or kind of the levels of anxiety in different people, kind of neuroticism, that may or may not be positive or negative kind of traits. And so it's like people who are both low on the conscientiousness are probably going to make each other miserable. People who are both on the neurotic end of things, they may have that as a similarity, but unless one of them is able to overcome it, then chances are they're just going to get up, they're going to worry, they're going to be upset, they're going to be hugely anxious about everything, and they're not going to be able to back each other up or try and help each other out of that space. They're just going to be at each other all the time, and that will cause a breakdown. Which leads us on to the last point, which is there are a couple of major traits that are kind of associated with relationship breakdown or bad relationships, and one of them is neuroticism. As said, if you've got people worrying and panicking and getting het up all the time over not very much, then that's, especially if you've got one of those people doing it and the other person that's just not, and they can't understand the other person, or if you've got both individuals doing it, then that's just going to lead to all manner of chaos and breakdown. But also narcissism, if one person is incredibly narcissistic and kind of self-focused, self-obsessed, then they're not going to be particularly caring or conscientious of other people. They're going to be in the selfish side. They're not going to accept their kind of share of responsibility for things and so on and so forth, because they're perfect. They love themselves so much that they're not going to allow that to be a thing. And like that elevated, that enhanced feeling of kind of self-worth instantly kind of wears down on other people, and it suggests that they're going to take people out, a partner on as an accessory instead of as an actual partner. And so these things, they need to be kept in check. These are things that in your own mind you need to analyze. You need to be very straightforward with yourself, and you need to keep a check on these things. Yeah, so being honest, just to summarize, being honest, being respectful of your partner as an individual, having a bit of a taking note at least of kind of the similarities between you and the other person that you're with, and where you can build on those, and then also trying to minimize things, especially kind of worry, panic, anxiety, or like your own elevated self-worth, or their own elevated self-worth potentially as well. Something to look out for, maybe to avoid, or something to just keep check on in regards to yourself, so that you don't end up ruining your relationship just by treating someone like, I don't know, a piece of jewelry that you're attaching to yourself. Taking on a girlfriend as arm candy because she makes you look good, or taking on a boyfriend purely because he's basically as worthwhile as the new handbag you got the other day. Those are things to keep in check and keep an eye out for, both in yourself and in other people. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you found this kind of useful to one extent or another, just because it's spelling out some stuff that may or may not be simple, may or may not be fairly straightforward, but it's a thing that lots of people miss. There are the number of times that I talk about honesty, for instance, or respecting the other person as an individual and not trying to infringe on that. It's one of these things that a lot of people seem to maybe miss, or get kind of, it gets forgotten as they kind of progress into a relationship, and they just get comfortable, and so all of the worries kind of disappear to begin with, and they just get into this pattern. And then when things start to break down, or things start to go in a different direction, then you've got that. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys, and let me know what you guys think. Where do you, I mean, in particular, I guess, when they're kind of opposites attract kind of thing. If you've got one person that's very, very caring and one person that's not caring at all, what are your experiences in those kind of things? Do they work? I've personally found that they don't. I've observed them not working numerous times, and I've coached people on it as well. But tell me what you guys think. I'm interested to hear. But anyway, thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop us a like and subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.